welcome to my video. The pandemic has forced a lot of people indoors. But for those of us lucky to have a choice in the matter, I think we've become more eager to go outside than ever before. So with college classes moved online and no baseball season on which to focus, I decided I'd do exactly what it seems no one else was doing: travel. Social distancing, face masks, hotels are closed. I decided to plan a solo bike tour. I would start by biking northwest into Vermont. I'd cross the Appalachian Mountain Range and bike the rolling hills of New York State. I'd keep pushing northwest until I made it to Lake Cayuga to meet a friend. Then I would head southwest to a small town of Apollo, Pennsylvania, which my grandparents call home. If all went as planned, and I still fancied the idea of biking long distances, I would continue on a railroad trail to friends in Washington, D.C., visiting my uncle along the way. However, there are a few things to do before I left. Biking was not something I've done seriously before. It was an activity I did every once in a while, but if I was going to do this, I wanted to do it right. My neighbor Chris gave me her mom's old bike. It was a 1970s Schwinn, so I would be riding in style. A few updates were needed on the bike before I could leave, however. New tires, new brake pads, a cleaning, new handlebar grip tape, and a new chain. I started going for bike rides until 60 miles felt okay. For the shorter rides, I strapped a 15-pound weight to the rear rack to simulate having gear.
Nope.
After about a few weeks of planning and training, I finally ditched the car for the time-honored cycling pace of travel. I also took a few extra precautions to make sure I avoided distractions, and to make sure I could engage with the experience itself. I spent a couple nights sleeping in the tent, just to prepare. It was going to be a long stint without a proper bed. The last item of preparation was food. Oatmeal was going to be the daily. Lots and lots of oatmeal. Peanut butter and jelly would be my lunch course, and for dinner, some soaked bulgur wheat and canned beans. Yum. I said so long to my family.
Thank you.
Waved to some friends as I left the neighborhood, and just like that, I was a traveling biker, free on the open road.
Leaving Durham, leaving the hometown. First hill I hit, I realized I forgot my gloves. So I already turned around once. That's how it's going so far. But so far so good, it's a beautiful day.
I wrote in my journal that day, the traveling with detailed directions did not interest me. I think the saying is, ignorance is bliss. When you don't know what's around the next corner, all you can possibly think about is the moment. For me, plenty of moments would be filled with hills.
Huge ass hill. Let's see what you got.
It seems as though I never had a good idea of when I would arrive somewhere, and so I was never in a rush or felt hurried.
here at the Chichester Town Hall now. One thing I did before I left was make some duck jerky and mix it with some flaxseed meal. So this is day one. I've come about 40 miles so far, and I'm starting to run out of water. Critical mistake. Didn't fill up my 1.5 liter water bottle. So I'm gonna need to find a campsite soon and filter some water. It's not ideal, the sun's going down. But look at this hill though. Found water. This is how you do it, guys. Just a tiny little stream running water, and I'm all stoked up. I'm hydrated, baby. Glad I took the leap and found this place. It's an abandoned lot. It looks like a building site in the future, but right now it's just a cleared space and there's a pond right next to it. Success for a day one campsite. Primo location. Pretty sweet camping area.
I did my best to bear-proof my food. All the camp chores were done, and it was time for some rest.
This says it's going to take you 2 hours and 41 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, it probably took me more like 3.5 hours. So
How do you feel right now?
I feel fine, honestly. I slept really well. I kind of overslept, honestly. This bird, dude, it's like the perfect alarm sound. It's really weird. Just wanted to show you guys breakfast. Huge shout out to my mother Maria for making some dried fruit. Goes very well with the oatmeal. Good morning. That is night one. Alright, I got a stop sign here. I have no clue where I'm going. Look at this huge dairy farm. Gotta love Cumberland Farms. Do you sell face masks here? No?
No.
What about padlocks?
Nope.
Nope. Alright. Just gassing up.
After getting directions at the gas station, I finally found the trail I was looking for. I met the Northern Rail Trail in Boscawen, New Hampshire, and made my way northwest along the Merrimack River. The Northern Railroad was built in 1847 and operated as a part of the Boston to Maine railway system for many years. It was completed as a year-round recreational trail in 2009 and would bring me up to Lebanon, New Hampshire. With many miles of trail to cover, I took plenty of impromptu pit stops.
What is that? Turn back or die. Well, I stopped here at this old baseball field. Well, it's not old. It's being used. If it weren't for COVID-19.
The pandemic was the reason I was biking instead of playing baseball, so I felt this Little League field would be a good place to stop and reflect. As it turned out, someone else had a similar idea.
Wicked pissa. This is Steve. Met him up in, what town are we in? Andover?
Andover.
Steve took his time to tell me stories from being in the Navy from 1966 to 68. He offered his insight into the reality of the Vietnam War.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. He is 71 years old, I believe. He served in Vietnam. Anyway, he was telling me gnarly stories about the Tet Offensive.
The Tet Offensive, which Steve recounted vividly in our conversation, was one of the largest battles of the Vietnam War and could be seen as a turning point in America's involvement. Steve recommended a book for me, from which I'll read a passage. They had never seen any Viet Cong in the village. Yes, they hated the Viet Cong. One woman with children was threatened with decapitation if she failed to reveal the whereabouts of her husband. She furiously stared down her inquisitor, calling his bluff. Steve was one of those inspirational characters I'd meet by chance, and only in passing. I'd think about the interaction for a while as I continued biking, but the real impact would be its effect on my world perspective.
Well, this handy trail sign has just informed me that I'm about 20 miles away from my destination. Might have to call it short on today's ride.
I found Tewksbury Pond and went for a swim to cool off and help the bug bites. I put on my change of clothes while the others dried, and I started looking for a campsite for the night.
Stuff keeps falling off my bike and I have to stop to pick it up. Not ideal, but
Beautiful place to be, though. Set up camp here in Lebanon, New Hampshire. Got some beans and bulgur wheat tonight. Not the fanciest of meals, but who cares? Probably eat some more duck jerky. And it's starting to rain. Okay. Tune in next week to watch the next leg of my journey. Everyone wears face masks. Started pouring rain. You can just hear it coming down in sheets.
Hello?